Hello. I am back. No, it's not. If you think that you are like, it's good to think good of yourself and be confident and stuff. But sometimes you don't let that get to your head. I feel like it's such a hard thing to say. It's better done than said. I hope it's not as hard for everybody as it was for me, because genuinely feel like in this regard, I have disciplined myself in a way. I don't think I suffer from any sort of truth that I am hiding from myself. I don't think that's a problem that I'm facing, and I'm very grateful about that. I'm so glad that that's the case. That's a mainframe that I have for myself. Um, what else? I think so. Yeah, finding out you don't stand for what you believe in. It hurts. It really does. But I feel like if you experience that at a young age, you're doing your stuff right. That's kind of like the moral of the whole gist that I'm trying to convey over here. Just because it's such a harsh thing, don't sway from being challenged on it, because you need to be challenged on this as much as possible. It's kind of like how art, if you want to improve, if you stay on your safe space, you are not going to improve as fast as you hope to. Reality is laced with some harshness, and I realize that. For example, um, I do draw, and most of the time I just draw the same things, and I got remarkably good at doing them and manipulating them. But this repertoire of drawing skills that I do have right now, it doesn't register in other fields that are usually anticipated as a substitute to what I'm doing, or as a complementary package. So just know that if you're young and you're uncomfortable, you're probably doing what you should be doing, because being young is all about doing mistakes, prepping yourself, sculpting that person that you are, letting go. Like, it's like you emerging out of the bay of the ocean, the shore of the ocean, and you got this like residue, maybe, coral reefs, or like um, seaweed, and you just have to shake it off. And that's the part where you transition into the land life as a oceanic mammal. I feel like I went too very introspective about that last part, but we don't care. We're gonna embrace it and carry on. My second point, I'm really liking this book thing. I feel like I always run on and talk about this kind of stuff, especially when there's no one to calibrate with. I usually just go on like tangents, and it could be misleading and could be sometimes uninteresting, honestly, because I would ramble on the same things over and over again, and I want to eliminate that. So, calming ritual. Funny thing, like recently, I've been trying to be more productive in all sorts of things. Also, I realized that sometimes I would wake up and have like a terrible day, and I would just not accept that to be the beginning of my day. So what I would do is just like I would meditate. I would sit like I'll sit over there, and I would just like fork my legs between each other, like just sit on the ground, Indian style, and I would just breathe and breathe, and I would try to talk to myself. I remember a friend told me a good thing you could do is just talk, even if you're with yourself. Like, just talk, and sometimes listening to your own voice saying things gives the perspective that you are waiting for, like that you're hoping for, kind of. Or either it's too stupid, or either it's brilliant. That's a good way to um, get another voice in when you're in solidarity. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I just kind of like have a chant, just like talk about like, hey, are you there? Like, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this, and just like imagine possibility of actually getting out there. Imagine that silver lining at the end of the tunnel. Um, and once you have that, like I feel like the image you conjure in your head gets so empowering and huge that like it gets so empowering and huge that you feel like baffled enough, or you feel stunned enough to not care about your present troubles. And I think that's very, very important. That's a very important skill set. It helped me so much. It helped me so much. Because like once I do that, I start feeling like I have a smile on my face. I have a more relaxed and tenseless face, and I'm more like ready to take on whatever troubles I have ahead of me, either mental or physical. It's just like I feel like most people take off. I feel most people feel aggravated and take offenses because their schedules are so invasive. That could be a problem. I feel like, because like all I can imagine when someone wakes me up, and this is just for me, but I feel like this will resonate with a lot of people. I feel like if I've been just woken up and someone is rushing me, I feel like if I take it to a point where it gets very personal, to a point where I feel like, oh, this is my room and you are here robbing me, and it just triggers a side of me that might be just like a bit too like harder to settle, kind of like I would throw a car fucking reference, but I don't know shit about cars. Carburetor. There you go. That's a word. Anyways, I don't know why I used carburetor. It just feels like a word that's kind of like coffee, not the drink. Just like emits the sense to cough. That must have like I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, uh, calming rituals are my best thing. My favorite thing. So I'm actually thinking about like tailorizing one around like my habit and whatever. I'll push it to some extremes. I'm intrigued by that world and I want to see how it goes. I feel mentally I'm doing better. I feel like I'm accepting of stuff better, and my absorption rate is higher and also more potent. And yeah, having your back to the wall. I hope that people who actually are listening feel familiar to a certain situation. You go the full throttle, you do your best, and still not succeed. It's important. It's one of those things that you learn through life. It's never taught. It's never taught to you. Taught to you. You need to intuitively get it. Although it is very counterintuitive. Um, and it's very jeopardizing for you as a person to just put yourself. I will make sure that most of the things that I learn or I do, I want to do it with my full chest. I want to do it with my full like intent and full integrity. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, I can carry on without lingering about what could have been or what should have been or what. Like sure, it hurts just like how it hurts to castrate a wound that is already bleeding out. It falls back to the concept of finding out you don't stand for what you believe in. I've been adopting a more um, trident and true stance in my life. Um, I've been, whenever I would feel a certain way towards a certain person, or I would feel a certain way towards a certain situation, I will try to figure out who I can channel this energy to. And if it's the main target, I just go in. I pinch the lime and take the shot, and I have to go through this like trail of fire. Um, because at the end of the day, you don't want to have that lingering and holding you, because in your head it's always gonna fester into something worse. And all I'm talking about is something that is, it revolves around men, like creating relationships with people. It revolves around like how you carry yourself around people, and what kind of people you want in your life, and what kind of people you don't want in your life. Um, and I always look at it as it's a filtration process. I try to be true to myself and go the truest way I believe is, and even if it's filled with hardship and agony or like doubt. Um, I have to walk this. I have to do this. I have to virtuously well, not virtuously, I have to be as honest to myself as possible, because the amount of weight that I am dropping out of my shoulders just doing that is just impeccable. That it makes me literally a different man. And it's important to realize, and it's important to utilize also. Um, sure, it hurts, but like having that um like having that mentality and just putting everything like, okay, what is not gonna help me is behind me. What I need is in front of me, and you just carry on. It's hard to start from that point because you are in a defeated position. No matter how much you try not to take it all on yourself, at the end of the day, you're human. You're gonna take it all on yourself. It's gonna like make you think a certain way. It's gonna make you think like you're incompetent, or you make you think like you are not fitting into this royal thing. While in reality, it's the truth to that is just um how unexpected is the loss, you know? And it's hard to calibrate something. When you aim for something, you don't hope for it not to work, you know? Um, but like, I found a lot of solace in just um, focusing on what was the feedback, focusing just inherently, you know? Talk to somebody, and they are like, so like I truly believe that aren't just gonna people aren't just gonna lie to you as much as it's presented around us in media or whatever. Um, Also, like, uh, refocusing on what was the feedback and realizing it, some part of it in yourself, it helps you because it makes sense. And at that time, I don't know what I meant by it makes sense. It's just like if you keep your head wandering about this kind of situation, it's always going to go to the worst case scenario. Having your back to the wall, um, I think it's important to be in that position. It applies to a lot of situations, so I think it would serve me best to just be vague about it. Sometimes you need to challenge your thoughts, and sometimes you will find you will find situations that will just shackle your belief and stuff. And in that position, it's up to you what you take. You don't want to be the kind of person who would let things toil up in their mind to a point where they start doubting and destroying their self-esteem in the process. Think of it as a sudden hurricane that just toils everything you have built and just uproots it, and just think about it metaphorically, you know. Um, in that destruction, there is some sort of release. Once you realize everything, and you're way past the shock point, there's a release. There's a feeling of some sort of closure, I would say. I'm not sure. And I bet that most people that have that, the first thing they do is just rethink who they are. And sometimes the best way to figure out who you are is to force yourself to a corner, or force yourself to a place where there's nothing behind you but a wall. And you just start your position from there on and forward, and be as sure as, and just play it. I wouldn't say safe. I would play it like sure and deliberate until something along the way inspires you. And once you do that more and more and more, I think like you would pick up on the pace and the pattern easier. So if this does occur, before, you would have a better preparation for it. While like you can do it once or twice or three times or four times, while most people in the world are usually broken down by one, and that just changes them to like a form, like a dissolved piece of themselves. Life isn't always this joyous ride, and I realize that. But anyways, there has to be some pain to clear the palette for you to appreciate something new. And this is something that's not really taught by a book, or not taught by people, and it's very counterintuitive, but you gotta learn it in life. For me, for example, I've adopted a very resolute, a very honest approach in all kinds of things. I when I do something, I try to do it with my full chest, you know. I try to take initiative in doing stuff that I find are remarkably wrong and around my atmosphere, especially if I could be done as a side responsibility of, you know. There's some sense of integrity that I want to maintain. For foremost is for myself, because integrity is in itself as a form of expression, just like your shirt, you know. And I've never felt so lighter. I've had terrible like hardships happen to me. Like honestly, I wouldn't say very terrible. I would call them mild still, but they still kept me up at night sometimes. And at the end of the day, it's not like a competition, anyways. Um, and just having that mind frame just helped me so much. It really did. There are things that I felt like I would never get over, and I just breezed through it in a week. And just like, man, sometimes you would just like, sometimes I wish I had like a someone recording my life, and they go like, oh, this is the one binge you had in like 2018 where you relapsed and did this to this one person, and you were like, if you carried on, you could have been in an entirely different path, you know. And that's like kind of like an impulsive field I have with me. But like I don't feel like I have like, although I am pretty impulsive, but I feel like the thing I do pick up, like I would be impulsive, sure, but there's things that I pick up that are just fun. I understand that are just gonna be impulsive, but there are things that I impulsively do pick, but at the same time they are really my uh, here and now obsession for real that could stick with me for so long. Um, Most of my stuff I did pick them on a whim. I think drawing I picked it on a whim because at one point when I was a kid, I saw my older sister draw these like eyelashes, and I thought it was so bad, so I picked up drawing, and then I just stuck with it for so long, until now, thankfully. Um, so I'm still not I still don't fully understand myself, and I'm pretty content with that. I feel like I feel like I'm just like a 70% jigsaw puzzle, and there's like a 30% of me that's not complete, but I just installed, like, I feel like I just installed this AI in this computer that is gonna finish this in said amount of time, you know? And if I would call that AI something, it would be it would be how introspective I could be at times. And I'm so glad that I'm like that, honestly. But enough of this like like self jerk situation. I don't like it. Um, yeah, let me look at the second point. That really did take a long route. Whew. Man, I'd be so pissed if I look back at it and it's just me mumbling, not making any sense. But I don't think so. I had that flare in my eye and I saw it. Okay. Rediscovering your enemies. Ooh. I feel like if you want to rediscover your enemies, it's so shitty, but you have to analyze people around you. You know? And so you gotta like, if you are really good with like trusting your gut and stuff, you're settled. You will just know them for some reason. But if you're not, you gotta start analyzing people around you. You gotta see what they do. You gotta see if they are and everybody have their own like attributes and habits that could get them some sort of a leverage. You have to be perceptive about stuff. You have to understand people. You have to understand why they're saying such stuff, especially when it's like your first couple of encounters. You have to play some sort of politic games with them. Like honesty is a good policy. Honesty is always a good policy, especially with people who you are already exposed your like formal mask in front of. But sometimes you can't just let go of so much information to people, because some people sadly they contort in such a way that it's easy to trust them, and they can exploit you with these information, and that's such a sad thing to realize. But the good thing is that you have all this time to find people who don't do that, and once you find people who don't do that, you will realize how refreshing it is to just open up to another person, because the meaning of friends and allies and people you like and peers is just like the reassurance that comes from other people is just unconceivably good. The support that you get from your friends and people who are close to you, it just, especially when it's blindsided, it just, it has such um, potential to push you further and push you to that point where you need to be. And eliminating people who will tap on that and sap you out of that is the best thing you could do. And if you deem people as enemies, eliminating them by any chance out of your existence is top one priority.